Hey, Brett. Rich Hoffman, The Athletic Philadelphia over here. It's probably hard to sum up now, but when you see Joel just in tears walking off the court, what goes through your mind?
That it's going to be a life memory that, as painful as it feels now, it'll help him. It'll help shape his career. It'll help give him greater clarity of what this time of the year represents. All the stuff that has to accrue over many months that will equal the ability to one day be a champion. It's hard. It's hard to be the last man standing. And to see him have the emotion that he has, and he's one of many in that locker room. It is painful for all of us, but to your question with Joel, he'll look in the rearview mirror and remember this. He will come out better and smarter and stronger and more aware of really what it takes to play longer than we've been able to play.
Brett, Dave McMenamin, ESPN, in front of you here. What do you think you guys accomplished over the last 2 rounds of the playoffs, and how should that be considered moving forward as this team looks to the future?
I mean, I think the group incrementally, as I said at in the beginning before we played, has slowly come together. Somebody asked me if it was a game that sort of defined us, and I believe my answer was like a bunch of instances that added up, that you felt like we were pointing in the right direction. I think our starting group is as talented as any in the NBA. In our bench, we tried to uncover some things with James that I think gave us serviceable minutes. I'm such a fan of Mike Scott and his toughness, etc. We experimented with different 5 men, from Amir to Boban to Greg, trying to figure that out. But I think moving forward, you try to hold on to as much of it as you can, and it's not my area. Elton will be great at this, and I'm sure a large portion of the challenge and the planning is going to be how do you just sort of grow the bench and hold on to as much of that as you can, the starters as you can.
Coach Sopan Dev from the New York Times. 2 questions. The first of which is that you essentially had 3 over here. Sorry, you essentially had 3 different versions of the team this year. Do you think that if you had more time with that final version, the results might have been different? And secondly, there's been a lot of speculation about your future. I wonder if you've, in the last couple of weeks, had any conversations. Has anyone told you anything about what your future might look like with the organization?
Stuff like that, we've talked internally a lot. The club can respond to that. As it relates to, what was the first part of your question?
Just about the final version of the team, as in the 3rd version of the starting lineup.
I thought they were great. I thought that they ended the season playing good basketball. I thought that they came together from a chemistry standpoint in a real sort of expedited way that surprised me, because there's some firepower there. I think that they coexisted well. There were sacrifices made all over the place. Ben as an example, we ended up really playing a lot of middle pick and roll with Jimmy as one example. And I was proud of the way the guys came together.
Brett, now that the series is finished, I want to just ask about Ben and what you saw from him this series. He went up against Kawhi for 7 games, and we saw in the first half as Kawhi was jacking up all these shots, Ben was in his back pocket and contesting. Can you just speak about the growth of him over these past 7 games, and especially the lessons he'll take about battling someone like Kawhi?
I mean, it's a little bit of a similar answer that I gave with Joel Embiid. At 22 years old, I think that we've seen growth in Ben in the course of these 2 playoff rounds. To have the responsibility to go have to defend Kawhi Leonard, especially in the mood and the mindset that Kawhi was in. He took, 39 shots. Wow. And we give him credit, in some of the shots that Kawhi made. You shake his hand. Other bits, you were schematically, we were a little bit better, but I think Ben's defensive effort and commitment to trying to guard Kawhi Leonard will serve him well. It too will be a memory, I'm certain, that will help better shape his his approach, his understanding of playoff basketball.
Brett, Sarah Todd, Philadelphia Inquirer. I know that there's probably some larger viewpoints that matter more right now, but if you look at granularly just this game, how disappointing was that they out-rebounded you, especially on the offensive end tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the two things that will, you'll think about all summer is that's one of them, and we'll go back and look at it where we could have done better on that. And, there were some dry possessions at the end that we put Jimmy in the middle pick and roll. We did some things. JJ had that big bucket, that three prior. But there was probably two for sure, three, if I remember correctly, that, you needed to get a shot. And I give Toronto credit. They were switching a lot. They were able to keep us in front of them. But those two areas, to me, Sarah, are what I'll be curious to go back and look at the tape and remember as I sit here, 15 minutes after the game has ended.
Brett, Louis Satzman, Raptors Republic. We might be burying the lead here, but that last shot was on the rim for maybe a lifetime. Do you remember anything you were thinking while that was in the air?
I really felt when it hit the rim that it was going to end up going in. It didn't surprise me that it went in. When it hits at that angle and goes kind of straight up, you feel like there is a chance it's actually going to go in. And when it went up, not to pretend like you can forecast anything, it didn't surprise me that it ended up falling in. It did seem like it was up there for a while. But with the way he missed and the bounce of the ball and the fact that it did go straight up and not, go to the right or the left, it's a tough way to lose. I mean, that's a hell of a win. That's a tough shot. And what a tremendous series.
Brett, could you just elaborate a little bit more on where you see the reasons for promise and the trajectory of this team that you were talking about?
I mean, if you just go back, just follow our time in Philadelphia, we won 10 games. We've been through a handful of general managers. We've been through different ping pong balls and draft picks. And now you fast forward, we've won back-to-back 50-game seasons. We came to a Game 7. I think the large majority of this room, didn't really give us a chance. And I'm not throwing that back at you. It's just the way it works. Like, we really weren't given too much of a chance against Toronto. There's lots to be proud of. We got two All-Stars that are very young. I think that the culture, the foundation of how we try to work and do things is on point. I'm proud of what we've built. And so now to take that next step, that is the mission, that is the challenge. But I feel like even with the disappointment that I sit here with, I know all the stuff in the background that has gone on. And I'm proud of it. Marcus.
Brett, as you think about what happened in the fourth quarter and how the game began, is there anything that you would have done differently? Any things that you would have changed as far as matchups or whatever?
As I sit here, I don't think so. I really don't. One of the drive possessions, could you have posted Joel? Maybe. They were coming at him. I thought Joel in the first half did a really good job of just inviting the double teams. And we went to Joe really not thinking he was going to score. We went to Joe so that he could try to pick apart their rotations. They came after him a lot of times on the catch. And so, maybe, you could have got Joe the ball and baited that double team again. I wanted to play with a spread court. But really, Marcus, when I look at it, did you have the right people on the floor? Did you have the right matchups? Mightn't you have tried to stalk Kawhi down more and double team? Maybe. But the fact is it took that shot to end our season.